Hello guys, and welcome to another video. This time we are going to be reviewing and talking about the Thrustmaster TSPC Servo motor. So this is just the wheelbase that I got on a huge sale, and I got it for like half the price brand new, and many people even sell it more expensive. It was pretty hard not to jump on this bargain. To come with it, I also got the Sparco P310 wheel, which is a one-to-one replica of a real-life race car steering wheel. And in my opinion, from the cheap Thrustmaster wheels, this one doesn't look like a toy, it looks a bit more like a proper racing equipment instead of some other ones that might be also nice or perform really well, but they have strange color schemes or they have stickers as fake buttons, and some of those things really put me off. My biggest experience has been with the Logitech G923, and therefore I will compare the bases directly, since this is a very logical upgrade path for many people who are concerned about budget and also bang for the buck. The TSPC and TSXW are still considered some of the best belt-driven wheelbases, and depending on the price that you buy them, they might bring you some of the highest benefits considering cost per Newton meter, and if you are coming from a really entry-level wheelbase, this might be one of the biggest upgrades you'll ever feel or do in your sim racing journey. Coming from a Logitech G923, I noticed huge improvements, especially getting new details and new information that I was not getting before because my old wheel, even though I really enjoyed it and it was great, some of the force feedback was really saturated, and so I will be losing a lot of detail in some areas to have information in other areas. Of course, considering the release date, at the present moment in time the technology on this product can seem outdated. But in reality, the same internal motor, position sensor, pulley system and the belt system are used in newer products like the TGT and the TGT2. That can make me even wonder if the newer models are really worth it. I can argue that when the Logitech G923 was released brand new a few years ago, for the first few months it was more expensive buying that wheelbase than buying the TSPC base on a sale. Even if we still need a wheel rim and pedals comparing to the G923 bundle, these wheelbases are worlds apart from each other regarding torque, cogging, noise and detail. My first impression when rotating the wheel on the TSPC is that it has more natural damping and mechanical friction than the G923. The TSPC belt mechanism feels a lot smoother than the cogging mechanism from the Logitech G923 when in use. Driving with it for the first time, I noticed a huge bump in force feedback strength, and also the force feedback was able to give me information about the rear wheels much faster. I used to have some difficulty feeling the rear axis when I had a lot of forces compressed into a small Newton meter resolution. I had bumps, suspension and road details, but sometimes I was too late to notice oversteer, rear end rotation on medium and fast corners, depending on what car I was driving. Jumping into the TSPC, the extra torque felt massive because there were many details that were buried underneath the compression on the Logitech G923. Now I was able to notice many things that the car was doing that I had never noticed before. I explored a few settings regarding the TSPC control panel, and the damping effect can be used to make the wheel feel very heavy to rotate, but then you are also sacrificing a lot of detail. In most sims we have the force feedback settings with damping, so we can fine-tune damping there if we want to. The boost feature seems impressive at first since it makes everything feel stronger, but even the smaller and medium forces get boosted to a point where all the forces are compressed into becoming strong forces. In my honest opinion, this boost might be good for weaker wheels on sim titles that tend to have a weaker feel in overall force feedback, But for this wheel, many people won't even run it on 100% master force feedback level, so the boost will oversaturate the force feedback signal, making it dirty, muddy, and again oversaturated, compressed, and lacking detail. After someone recommended to me to use the damper and spring off, the wheel felt a bit lighter, but at the same time the strength was there when the force feedback needed it for some details and downforce or weight loading, and the wheel for me became a lot better with this software configuration. Thrustmaster instructions for driver and firmware updates were very clear, and the process was clean, fast, easy and simple. The only caveat I have with this software is that it looks a bit outdated and that you need to actually close the simulator you are in every time you change settings on your TS PC. Every time you open this control panel, it will kill the force feedback if you are inside any simulator, and you'll need to inevitably restart them. The cooling fan is quiet when in operation. I never noticed any heat in the base after an afternoon of use. The design is pretty sleek and the cooling from this design seems to work just fine. Having the two extra buttons on the wheelbase comes in handy since most Thrustmaster wheels are not very crowded with buttons. Having the power supply separate from the base surely helps with cooling. It does look cool, being shaped in the shape of a turbo, and even has mounting screw holes to screw it in some interesting place. Overall, a neat looking package. The wheelbase is filled with really nice appointments regarding the looks, and even the paint job will make you remember the paint job on a sports car. The shallow and sleek design on this wheelbase will make it easy to put a screen nearby it, close to the steering wheel, or in any position that you might want to put it. The underneath of this wheelbase has a metal base plate that serves as foundation for the whole package. This metal base plate also includes the mounting holes for the table clamp and the screwing holes for cockpits, and this will make the wheelbase really sturdy during operation. The quick release can be seen as a bit of a mixed bag. Being able to have interchangeable wheel rims at a lower price point for sure is really nice, but this quick release is not so quick. The quick release is made of hard plastic and it screws around the wheel rim side. After screwing in as tight as possible the bigger part, there is still a small screw that needs to be tightened and it will make a dent on the quick release on the wheel side. This will make it hold in place and it will prevent it from rotating during use. After screwing the small screw on the quick release, I didn't notice any movement on my wheel rim. If used properly, the quick release will never come undone because of this system. However, I must advise that you need to make sure that you tighten the quick release as tight as possible before screwing in the small screw. You need to make sure that every time you screw that screw, you will be screwing it in exactly the same place, and the only way to be sure of that is to have the screwing quick release as tight as possible all the times. While researching about this wheelbase, I noticed many people make metal quick releases or put drift wheels on it. In my opinion, many of these modifications will put strain into the wheelbase's main shaft. The table clamp works well, securing the wheel into this IKEA table. I am using the cheapest tabletop from IKEA and I found the perfect pressure where I'm not smashing the table with force, but the wheelbase does not move at all. Even though it comes with a table clamp, the force feedback forces from this wheel might be too much for some tables and you start to lose information and detail. Trying out this wheelbase, I realized that I will eventually need a cockpit sooner or later, and so I started searching for a cockpit within my budget. Regarding force feedback, it felt transformative after trying out the G923. On some cars that were less stable and harder to control, they became a lot easier to drive for me now. On the G923, the force feedback was still very informative and you will be getting a huge bang for the buck when using it. The TS PC is on another level, of course. The force feedback is stronger, but it can feel muddy if you overdo it and have exaggerated settings on some things like damping or curb sensitivity. Using an FFP clip app, I was able to analyze the force feedback curves and understand what was happening between the force feedback and the information I was feeling from the car. After 1 or 2 days of research, I was able not only to adapt but actually improve on top of my old G923 performances. Even though the G923 felt great at the time, I spent a lot of time researching settings using loot files from Rasmus and also asking for settings for my friends, and it took me a really long time to get my best settings and my best performance out of the G923. With the TSPC, this process was very fast and very quick. When I got everything set up, I was able to quickly match my previous best lap times, and in some cases I was able to beat them. At the same time, having more feeling from the car made me easier to do consistent laps and to replicate what I was doing previously. The strength for this price point is amazing. With it comes speed, extra precision, more headroom for details, and suddenly a better feeling of what the car is doing. This is a noticeable upgrade, but I paid a bit more for the G923 than the TSPC, just the wheelbase, considering the sale I got. This means that we still need to find a wheel rim and some pedals, so the cost will start to add up quite quickly. Even with the higher cost, this is still one of the best budget deals you can get in the whole sim racing world. You can start by getting the cheapest wheel rim and the cheapest pedals you can get, or even getting them second hand, or just getting an adapter to use your old Logitech pedals. Later on you can swap the wheel rim with a better wheel rim for this wheelbase from Thrustmaster, and at the same time you can get the load cell pedals Thrustmaster tlcm. In my opinion, this will be the best budget to mid-range deals you can get, where you get the most performance for what you pay out of the things that you are using. When I started sim racing, I noticed many pro sim racers using this wheelbase, and it was a huge success for a reason in its time. Even if the quick release did not age that well, the force feedback will still give you a pretty good experience. The TSPC has a beautiful design and great mounting solutions. Servicing and modding this wheelbase is not necessary, but it's pretty simple to do so. And you can always expand by connecting a shifter and some handbrake to this wheelbase on top of connecting the pedals, while only using one USB to connect everything to the computer or to some console. The only drawback that I see is the current price for the current market, but if you are able to get some of these things at half their price, then you will be getting a bargain. This wheelbase will connect you to the cheapest and most budget-friendly ecosystem from the whole sim racing world as well. I've found many people saying that when they upgraded away from the TSPC, they never quite forgot it, because the jump that they got into the next wheelbase that they got was never as big as the jump they got when coming into the TSPC. The first thing I noticed when I picked up the Sparco P310 wheel rim was that the Alcantara felt nice, and it was a premium material compared to the more toyish materials of some other wheel rims at this price point. It also featured some anodized aluminum ergonomic pedal shifters, and it felt really good when you hold it for the first time. The wheel has an ergonomic D shape that is very well suited for race cars, especially GT cars. The hub that houses the buttons has a carbon fiber pattern aesthetic, but it's made out of plastic. Being a replica of a real-life Sparco wheel designed for endurance race cars, GT cars, and etc., the grip is very ergonomic and the material is quite comfortable. The Alcantara can be easy or hard to maintain depending on how you treat it, so you might be better wearing some gloves when you are driving. It has a decent fit and finish for the price, and for sure looks a lot more like a proper race car wheel rim than many other budget options around this price point. This is definitely one of my favorite wheel rims from Thrustmaster. The quick release is, in my opinion, the only weak point in all the Thrustmaster wheel rims. The buttons are quite different from the console controller buttons that are present in many budget-friendly wheels. They have a short travel, small but noticeable positive click and guards around them to prevent accidental activations. This is a great design at a small cost, since I've had accidental activations on my G923 wheel rim. The G923 had a huge array of inputs, and while I kinda miss having all those options, depending on what you are using the wheel for, these inputs might not be needed, and the Sparco P310 still sits in a comfortable spot. Comparing to the G923, the pedal shifters will feel tighter and snappier, while the G923 ones will do the job, but they have a springier feel. As long as you keep the quick release hub, you can also change the wheel rim itself, so you could be putting this hub on any shape that you wanted to. This was my first time buying a separate wheel rim, and it was because I got the Thrustmaster TS-PC that I started looking into the wheel rims. For this price point I was not sure of what to expect, but I think that this Sparco wheel still performs okay. While I would for certainly enjoy having a replica of the G923 wheel rim regarding the leather around, the round shape and the button positions and the buttons in general that it had, I think I would much rather have higher quality buttons like I have here and higher quality pedal shifters like I have here on the Sparco wheel rim. Another noticeable difference is that this wheel rim looks really cool and like nothing else around this price point. I hope this video will help you make an informed decision, and that if you are interested in budget-friendly options you will consider this one, as I had a pleasant experience with it. In my opinion, the only complaint that we can have at this price point is the quick release that is not so quick, and that you might get some flex coming from the wheel rim, and there is nothing you can do because it is plastic and you are not supposed to force any weird movements. During the driving I never noticed any flex, and I was able to do better performances with this wheel rim than with my Logitech G923 that has no flex. Even if this is something small and almost unnoticeable, I still have to talk about it because you can always search for this. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please give your opinions about this wheelbase and wheel rim as well in the comments. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, like the video and subscribe to my channel for more content. Thank you for watching and see you soon.